We're back, everybody, and yeah, we had some technical difficulties. Dan's girl turned on one of her toys, created a power outage. Dan, man, you got to do better than that, bro. So here's what you missed. Jesse Schule was on the show. He likes Austria minus 105 against Turkey. That's a play in regulation. It's in the soccer game, Euro 2024. It goes at 3 p.m. Eastern. He also likes over 48 in the Toronto Saskatchewan game. And he's the $2 Tuesday handicapper over at WagerTalk on an 11-0, 5% run in baseball. He has a 5% play up tonight. Perfect time to try Jesse and WagerTalk. We also have Steve Merril joining us and Art DiCesare. But right now, it's all about Teddy Covers.
Well, let's talk about what we learned last night. And what did I say yesterday right here on the show? Quote, MLB games are not independent of one another, particularly when it comes to totals. Overs beget more overs. Hot lineups and worn down bullpens don't disappear into thin air. Similarly, unders beget more unders. Cold lineups and fresh bullpens can stay that way for weeks on end. So when teams start to streak with their totals, I pay close attention, especially at this time of year, as the bats start to heat up with the weather. That's a quote from yesterday. So what happened yesterday? I had a 5% big ticket. I only had one in June, and this might be my only one for July. Who knows? I had the Nats-Mets over. My number said 9 juice to the over, or 9.5. I wrote it, 9 minus 20 or 9.5 slash. I made my number. The markets gave me an 8, and I fired large. I've been running really good. I was on a 100% MLB run over the last 6 days. So what happened last night? Well, I was at least a good part of it was wrong. Mackenzie Gore threw a gem. David Peterson threw a gem. It's 3-2 into the 8th. The Nats sneak home a run to tie it at 3-3. I got over 8. The line got bet up during the day to 8.5. I'm not looking for a push, but now I've got a tie score and 2 dicey bullpens. The Nats get a scoring chance in the 9th. Tyrone Taylor will absolutely get a Christmas card this year. All we had to do is get that game out of the 9th inning. Taylor with a game-saving catch in right field sent it to extras, tied 3-3, and the game went over. In the 10th inning alone, the Mets scored 6 in the top, the Nats scored 4 in the bottom. Was it lucky? Absolutely it was lucky. I'd rather be lucky than good any day of the week. I almost tweeted that. I thought about tweeting it, but didn't it? I didn't, because it wasn't all luck. I'll still stand, even though it took 10 innings to get there, I'll still stand by my basic handicap of the game. Even though both starters pitched better than expected, 2 dicey bullpens, 2 hot lineups. And that's what ended up being the difference in the ballgames. These are the things that are going to get me on the over. You got suspect starters, hot lineups, worn down bullpens. All 3 of them got me on a big ticket over, a 5% over last night. Only 2 of the 3 played out, but the hot lineup stayed hot and the worn down bullpen stayed worn down. Took an extra inning, but it played out fine. And again, baseball, I've been doing all this focus on football with the NFL season win report coming out today. It's been all football. Baseball, I haven't been 100% focused, yet I'm 100% perfect over the last 7 days. Single best bet winner available right now. WT.buzz/TC. Lawrence?
Teddy Covers. Keep it going, man. Keep it going. Guys, Steve Merril joining us. Steve, thanks for hosting yesterday. Much appreciated. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. And Teddy, I was with you on the over in that game, and I was watching live because I wanted to see James Wood's debut. He was the number 3 prospect in baseball. And by the way, I purchased 37 Nationals tickets for the July 4th game yesterday. So hopefully he'll be in the lineup on Thursday once again to see him in person. I had some friends that were up there last night, so they got to see a doozy. But yeah, he got on base, 1-2 count, works a full count, gets a base hit in his first at-bat, gets him over to third, and then they double out of that inning just like the first inning ended, and it's 0-0. I was like, screw this. I'm done watching for the night. And that was a pure under, I thought, until it became an over. And I love the fact that you're actually rooting for a defensive play in the 9th inning for an over bet. It's the only time in sports that'll happen.
Teddy, you want to respond? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one. We're good, dude. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to this game, Philadelphia Phillies versus the Cubs. And I mean, Steve, this is a fascinating game. You got The Chicago Cubs minus 125. They're playing one of the best, if not the best team in all of baseball. Philly has not lost 2 games in a row in a long, long time. The Cubs have lost 6 of 8. Now, I get that the Cubs are putting a great pitcher on the mound, but he's only 1-4 in his last 5, even though his ERA is excellent. You like the Cubs here. Tell us why.
No, I don't necessarily like the Cubs in this one, but it's an interesting game to talk about. And the reason I wanted to talk about this game is for a couple of reasons. First of all, we do have 2 young pitchers on the mound. There's different ways to handicap that moment. But your Phillies, they've had the best record in baseball for several months now. It's starting to wane a bit. Dan Alexander, Phillies #1 fan who hosts the baseball show. And, oh, by the way, baseball show now here at 11 a.m. Eastern live every Monday through Friday, right before Wager Talk Today. So you get the ultimate doubleheader. MLB First Pitch, Wager Talk Today, 11 and 12 Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So if you missed us live earlier, go back and check out that replay. But we actually did touch on this game in the show. And one thing I asked Dan, I go, if you blindly had to play on the Phillies for the entire month of July going forward, are you going to win money or lose money? And he and I both kind of agreed that, conventional logic would be that they're going to regress. They're extremely banged up right now, Prez, offensively. Several guys out, including Bryce Harper, for at least another week. And the offense is struggling. But their pitching's been fantastic all season. And my gut reaction was, they're probably a play against. But then you look at the money line tonight, like you were kind of making a point, is that you got the best team in baseball as an underdog here. So you do have to wonder if it's already somewhat being priced in that the Phillies are regressing. And I'm not so sure. You might not make money with them this month. And I don't have a problem backing Mercado tonight. This is a young pitcher that's only appeared once in the majors. So let's pull up his AAA numbers, which I like to do with these young guys. And he was lights out in AAA this year. He had 14 games, 10 starts in those 14 appearances at AAA in the International League, a 1.7 ERA, opposing batting average of 189, really solid numbers. And I like to play young pitchers that the opposing lineups have not seen before. So Cubs team total could be worth a look and under for that reason. Meanwhile, on the other side, you got another fairly young pitcher in Hayden Wesneski. This is a guy that was drafted in the 6th round by the Yankees back in 2019, went to Sam Houston State. He's made 4 starts in his 21 appearances this year, very mediocre 3.6 ERA, a 1.1 whip, 1.2 whip. The bullpen will probably be involved a little earlier than normal for the Cubs tonight. The weather, though, we always have to check the wind. And when you see a 9.5, you figure the wind is probably blowing out. When I checked earlier today, it was about 8 miles out to left field. That could become a little bit more center field by tonight. But here again, I think it's an overreaction based on maybe the wind blowing out a little bit. 9.5, a very key number. So I would lean under 9.5 in this game, and definitely wouldn't argue against playing maybe both team totals under. Wesneski, by the way, in AAA this year, only had 3 games, but had a solid 2.3 ERA. So I think these are 2 pitchers that they're not going to be familiar with. I'd lean Phillies at an underdog price. Best team in baseball with a good young starter on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, this line baffles me. I mean, it's a legit head scratcher. And with games like that, I tend to leave alone. But I just went back and looked. The last 14 series Chicago has played, they've won 2 of them. And one of them was a 2-game sweep over the White Sox. I mean, they've been consistently losing for the better part of the last 2 months. All right. We've talked about Philadelphia, and I want to get back to that point that you made earlier. Right now, we look at the Phillies. If we bet Philadelphia every game moving forward, are they money makers or money losers?
Yeah, I wanted to get your thought on that, Teddy, because Dan said, well, my gut is they're going to be money losers. I go, that was mine as well. But then I see this line tonight. The point spread is the great equalizer, right? You could be a losing team in football and have a winning point spread record if you're covering spreads. We're talking about winning or losing record the next month. I don't know. But a money line, if they're going to start pricing the Phillies as a dog against an overrated Chicago team, maybe they will be a money maker. My gut is that they'll probably be below money for this month because they're so banged up. But Teddy, what is your thoughts? I mean, it almost seems like it's become public knowledge now that their offense is banged up and that they've over-adjusted the money line.
Well, the Phillies are the best winning percentage in baseball. They're more than halfway through the season. And if you bet Philadelphia in every game, you're up 7 units, at 55 and 29. So it's hard to picture a scenario. And of course, their starting pitching's been amazing. That being said, you talked about how that lineup's not healthy right now, and there'll be another hot streak for Philadelphia before this season's done. The answer is I don't know. That really is.
But
I don't know.
But I think Teddy,
Lawrence.
I think that's a great point about their record being so strong, and yet they're only up 7 units. It's almost like, where do you go from here? You're not going to go on that type of a win streak, consistently. So I think it makes sense, Steve, what you're saying, a slight regression and maybe a down a little bit of money at the end of July. And I love that kind of segment because it's way more important to discuss betting theory and how to attack teams over a long period of time than to give out the one single game for today. So awesome segment. Let's turn our attention to Baltimore at Seattle. And Baltimore finally lost the game after winning 4. They got slaughtered 11-2 to Texas. And Seattle, although they won 2 games against Minnesota and Tampa Bay, they then lost 2. This team can't seem to get out of their own way, this Seattle team. And here we are, minus 105 against a really, really good Baltimore team. Where are we going here?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this game because these are 2 of the better teams in the American League. Also, I posted this as my free play today at WagerTalk.com. It just missed making the cut for my best bets. 3 games I was considering. 2 of them are official best bets. This is the 3rd game, so it's a strong opinion. Game that was just a bit outside for making the cut. And by the way, you get the 2 for 1 tonight, of course. You can get each for 25, get a daily for 39, or how about the next 6 days for just $10 more with the 7 days for 49. No promo code needed. It's on my page right now. And this is my free play tonight, a game that just missed the cut from client best bets. And I like the under 7 in this game between the Orioles and Mariners for a few reasons. First of all, we talk about having that big general premise when handicapping any sport, any team. The Mariners at home, we're always kind of looking for a reason to play unders. And now, once again, it's priced in here. I get that. It's on the key number of 7. But if you check some of the leading indicator books around the world, there's 7 under 15 already. So I do think the sharp money's on the under 7 here. I agree with that. This would have been a best bet at 7.5. That's actually kind of what kept it off my best bet card. But at 7 or more, it's still a very key number. I like the under here. Orioles are a great offensive team. There's no question about it. In fact, in the month of June, they became only the 3rd team in the history of baseball to have 60 home runs or more in a single month. But Seattle's one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. In fact, I've given this stat out a few times on shows. Coming into last week, I saw the top 5 starting ERA staffs in baseball. Orioles, Yankees, Phillies, Dodgers. No surprise, Mariners were the other one of the top 5. So these are 2 of the best pitching staffs in baseball, pitcher-friendly park. And as you kind of referenced, Prez, also, Seattle not in good current form. This team has now lost 5 of their last 7, and they have scored 3 runs or less in 5 of their last 6 games. 3 runs or less in 5 of their last 6 games. It's a pick-em price. You look at the team totals in this one, they're both at 3.5. So definitely would not talk you off the Mariners under 3.5 team total. They've gone under 3 or less in 5 of their last 6, and I like the full game under 7 as well.
Do you worry at all about Grayson Rodriguez home road splits? He's had a couple of real ugly road starts, and his home ERA 2.27, road 5.35.
Yes, but there's a couple of things I like in this situation that makes me worry less about it, Teddy. First of all, Seattle not a hitter-friendly park, right? So your road split should be a little bit better here, hopefully. But if you look at my free play that I posted at WagerTalk.com and I give analysis, I recommend people go check it because, yes, I gave you the pick here, but my pitcher projections are listed in that analysis. And I mentioned that Seattle's lineup is just 2 for 22 all-time against Grayson Rodriguez. 0.91 batting average. So the current lineup has only gone 2 for 22 against Rodriguez. So I think that'll help his cause tonight. And I've also got George Kirby's projections on there as well for free. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Wonderful stuff. Eagles Forever, one of our listeners. Thanks for joining us, Eagles. He writes, Orioles are overrated. Tough to really say that, Eagles. This is a team with the 4th winningest money line spread in all of baseball. I think they're kind of rated exactly where they're supposed to be rated. Also, guys, Steve Merril mentioned a 7-day all-access package, only $49. 7-day all-access package. It's only $49. It's our 4th of July celebration package. Highly well received yesterday. It continues today. Take advantage of that. Steve, I don't know if you're still with us, but anything else, my good friend?
Yeah, I just want to chime in on him saying that my childhood Baltimore Orioles are overrated. My soon-to-be Washington Nationals are on the rise as well. Look, not only are you talking about the money line, Teddy and I have talked about this. They've been the most profitable team in baseball for about 2.5 years now. So they
Yeah.
remain underrated in that regard in the betting markets. But here's another thing. Look at run differential right now. Their run differential for the season is plus 112 runs. There's only two teams that are better than that, and it's the Phillies and Dodgers. They're ahead of the Yankees even in run differential. So definitely not underrated, definitely not overrated. And I was looking up James Wood, the national prospect, third in baseball. The Orioles have the number one prospect right now at AAA Norfolk down the road from me. They've got 3 of the top 20 prospects at AAA Norfolk, and they're still one of the best teams in baseball. This is going to be a play-on team for quite a while.
Steve Merril, thanks for joining us, brother. Teddy covers! We're going to run this show a little late today, everyone, because of our technical difficulties. Art DiCesare's on deck. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown time. Baseball's been good for the clients and I over the course of the last week. Good, well, 100% perfect last 7 days in baseball. And I haven't laid more than minus 120 on any bet. I'm not laying big favorites. That's not what I do. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't been 100% focused on MLB this last week. NFL's been center stage in my life. The Win Report comes out at 3 p.m. Eastern today. But I have focused on one thing this past week. Low-hanging fruit. The obvious plays that we sometimes overlook. This is one of those type of plays. All right. The Rockies start to fly over at Coors Field when the weather heats up. They're now, and you're not going to see this if you just go through the game logs. They're 7-0 to the over, last 7 at home, not counting the getaway day games, where, let's get out of town. Someone's got to get on a plane. The ump's got to get on a plane. So this is not a getaway day game. 7-0 to the over, their last 7 at home in this spot. It's another warm evening in the thin mile-high air tonight. There were 15 runs scored in last night's game. Both teams, 8-7 final. Both teams were hitting. We have a pitching matchup that doesn't inspire any confidence from anyone. Dallas Keuchel, somehow or other back in the major leagues. He returned last week to make his season debut, and of course he got lit up. 5 runs, 8 hits, 4 innings against the Rangers. I don't anticipate a Coors Field start to be where Dallas Keuchel all of a sudden regains his ace-level form from 15 years ago. On the other hand, you have Ryan Feltner, who has a grand total of 5 quality starts in 16 outings this season, and a guy who has an ERA of over 7 at Coors Field this year. We had 8 different relievers in play last night, not counting Wilson from Milwaukee, and the relievers combined to give up 6 runs. I would expect very much more of the same tonight in the most hitter-friendly ballpark in baseball. And we have a couple of lineups that are going right now. The Brewers, they scored 6 runs or more, 5 of their last 8 games. They're 5th in batting average, 7th in runs scored. Colorado at home, a completely different animal. Yes, expect crooked numbers on the scoreboard. And look for the Rockies and the Brewers to get up and over the total, currently 11.5, the highest total on the board for good reason. Look for over Milwaukee, Colorado. There's your big game breakdown for Tuesday night. Lawrence?
Art DiCesare joining us. Art, sorry we're running late, my friend. Appreciate you being with us. I'm going to get straight to it. Firstly, a huge shout out to all the people following us on TikTok. We now do live stream on TikTok so that you can see this show live every day. And we have a question from Tommy Wetzel. And Art, that's where we're going to start. He wants to know if we should bet the Yankees today. And here they sit minus 200 against Cincinnati. And I look at this, and the Yankees are not in good form right now. They've won 3 of their last 10 games. Cincinnati is, well, almost never in good form. I handicapped this game already, Art, and I like the over. Do you like the New York Yankees here at minus 200?
Prez, I'm never one to ever tell anyone to lay $2 or more, or even like Teddy said, when you start talking baseball, minus 130, minus 140, I don't like, laying that type of dollar amount. So I would say no. I'm with you, Prez. I think that the Yankees are kind of in their lull right now. Obviously, some injuries, some things going on. And listen, that happens in a 162-game season. So not that the Reds are world beaters, but there's no way I would go out and lay $2 with the Yankees.
Yeah, no argument there. And the Yankees, who've been trending over, I'm not playing them over today. Not with the injuries they have, not with the way Cincinnati is hitting. Slightly to the under in that ballgame, but I'm not going to bet it because the Yankees have been trending over. And I want to ask you this, Art. I've been talking a little bit about these MLB totals trends, and particularly as you get, June and July, you start to see some real total trends pick up steam. Do people bet this stuff every day, or do total trends just stay under the radar and people don't even pay attention, despite the fact, teams going over or under at a significant clip for a relatively significant period of time? Talk to me about total streaks and betting marketplace reactions.
Sure, absolutely, Teddy. Does the public pay attention? Probably not. Probably not as much as they do pay attention to starting pitching and things of that nature. The people who do bet baseball, even the general public players who bet baseball day in and day out. But I think this is where you start to see not only the totals get moved, where we get to a point where we move half a run, we start seeing the full run move. Where an overnight number could be 8, and then now all of a sudden it's 9. Or, the other way around. It was 10, now it's 9 because they're betting the under. So you start seeing the full run instead of the half run with some juice, move. So I think that's what you start to notice in late June, early July.
Yeah, one of the things that I always talk about is that if a team wins 10 games in a row, they'll be the lead story on SportsCenter. If a team goes over or under 10 games in a row, the only people who will notice are the people who bet them over or under in the majority of those ball games. Are there any total streaks in MLB that you're seeing taking a fair bit of action now? Certainly on today's card or in recent days? Anything stand out to you when it comes to, hey, this team's taking a lot of over money lately. Hey, this team's taking a lot of under money lately. Anything stand out in that regard?
No, but I will say the only one as far as like the sharp action total wise that we took some action on today was the Padre under. It was overnight 8. It's now 7.5. So a little bit of under money. One of our respected players came in and bet that overnight. But more of the stuff that we're seeing today is focused on sides and betting either a hot team or going with the pitcher or actually going against the pitcher.
Well, tell us about some of the sides that are getting some wise guy action on Tuesday's MLB card. Of course, Art DiCesare at ArtDice21 on Twitter. He's an outstanding follow and a guy who has his ear to the ground as a risk management supervisor for the Superbook here in Nevada. So tell us about what's going on today's MLB card that stands out to you, Art.
Sure, absolutely. I know a game that you had talked about because you had the over in it last night. The Mets have been really good for bettors recently here. They've been a hot team. I don't know if you want to say it's the grimace thing or whatever. I know Met fans are going crazy over that, but Mets minus 130 in the overnight, now minus 140, still at the Nationals. Like I said, they've been very hot for bettors. So you've seen a lot of bettors come in and start betting the Mets because they've been so good of recent. I know Steve had touched on this game. Very interesting. Sharp money came in on the Mariners overnight at plus 105. We got to as high as minus 108 on Seattle, and it was trending to maybe get to minus 110, minus 112, and they would be a strong home favorite. But now you've seen the buyback from Sharps on Baltimore, kind of settled in the middle at 105. Now it's trending back. Now you got Baltimore minus 107. But the early sharp money was that plus money with the Mariners overnight. And this is an interesting one to me. Overnight money came in on the Twins at plus 105, despite them going against Schoolball. I know he hasn't been as great as he was in like the first 2 months of the season. He's still been really good, but I think this is a play against Detroit. They're such a bad team, and they just really can't get out of their own way, despite Schoolball being one of the best pitchers in baseball. Minnesota at home now, minus $1.20, so that is shifted 20, 25, 30 cents towards Minnesota on the fade now, where they were plus 105 overnight.
Arthur DiCesare giving us significant wise guy action from MLB. And Art, I got to tell you, I was down at the Westgate Superbook yesterday. As I do every year the day before I release the season win reports, I go around town to make sure I got all current numbers, that I didn't miss anything. And I was in the Westgate, and you weren't there. Where are you now?
I was not there. I had a couple of days off, but as everyone knows, this is the summer, guys. This is what happens. Now, we are transitioning ourselves into a different office space. So we are going to be eventually fully out of the Westgate. So, keep kind of, your ear tuned to that. It's not, fully out yet, but some of us in the risk room, most of us in the risk room, will be fully out into a new office, which will actually take us out of the Westgate.
And we say we, that's the risk room is moving?
Yeah.
So just to summarize that segment really quick, Art, you had a day off? What the hell?
No.
I mean, you literally made it sound.
Like,
you were in such shock that Art was not at the Westgate. It didn't occur to you that he could have had a day off. I want to know where he is. So you didn't tell us where you were, Art. Where were you yesterday? We need your itinerary.
So, that's not even what I said, all right? I went in the Westgate, and they said, quote, Art doesn't work here anymore.
Oh, well, maybe that part would have been important to your story.
And it freaked me out. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, no, they're just moving. So I understand that Art gets days off. Okay? That I didn't think that he was there, and I didn't see him behind the counter when I walked up to the counter. But every time I go in there, is Art working? That's just what I do when I go to the Westgate,
Great. Maybe you should have told us the response from the gentleman first. Now, the second component is...
It was a lady.
Okay. Well, both of us just assumed there, which is completely incorrect in this day and age. Teddy, the second component is you went from casino to casino to check that your lines are accurate. You can't do that on your phone or on a computer. You have to drive from place to place.
It is one of the things that I do every year. I've been doing it for 23 years. Every year I do the exact same thing. The day before the report comes out, I drive around all the books. I get a printout of the current lines. Why do I do that? I don't know. It is probably a waste of time. But I like to go in. I like to talk to people. I like that it's part of the process. And I have I got accurate numbers that I can put in my report. Art, before we let you go, this is the time of year that the periphery sports take a much bigger piece of the equation. You guys doing stuff for the Olympics, soccer? What's hot right now in the non-baseball betting markets? And what are you seeing from your position as a risk management supervisor at the Westgate when it comes to liabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. Great that you brought up the Olympics, Teddy. Of course, we are going to offer Olympic betting. Will we have every event, everything going on? No, but we will put out more of the, the popular sports, the track and fields and the basketball and the things of that nature that will obviously, all we want to do is write money. We want a right handle. And those are the sports that obviously we will see it. Listen, WNBA is still really popular. A couple of ones today that have seen some really good over money come in. You got the Lynx at the Liberty, open 164, now 167. Fever at the Aces in town. You got Caitlin Clark in town. Total overnight was 174. You're now seeing 179 that game. The Fever have been a crazy over team, especially in their first halves. Their first half right now is at 90. That's a crazy first half in a WNBA game. And Prez, let me throw a CFL game out there for you. BC Lions at Hamilton on July 4th. We opened BC minus 6.5. We've seen some Hamilton money. We're now Hamilton plus 5.5.
Well, on that, a lot of money came in on BC last week too, Art. They weren't even close to covering.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they're going against them this week. They're taking the points with Hamilton. So they're saying, BC on the road is a 6.5 point favorite. Too much. Where last week they opened 6.5. Got to as high as 7.5 at home. Yep. And like you said, didn't even come close.
Teddy?
So what they're saying is we had a bad read on BC last week. Let's have a bad read on BC again this week.
Well, and it's funny you say that, Teddy. And Art, I don't know if you've noticed this in your lifetime of betting, but you're right. I mean, I chuckle all the time just to take the Orioles over. Made that up. But I'm going to bet the Orioles over today. They go under. Tomorrow, I'm betting them under. They go over. It always seems to happen that way. And I actually try to avoid betting against the day previous if it lost, because for some reason, Art, it does end up biting you, and I don't know why.
Yeah, no, that's
Arthur
true. I
DiCesare.
mean, sometimes, yeah.
Hey, Teddy, he's capable. He's capable of responding.
Yeah, but
Okay, you know what, Teddy? You know
There was
what?
no response to
End
it.
this show,
Yeah.
Teddy.
I'm trying, brother.
the
I'm trying.
show.
Everyone wants to go. Arthur, before we let you go, what would you like to promote, my friend?
As always, guys, the Westgate, listen, keep coming down. Even if I'm not going to be there, you can reach out to me on Twitter. You can reach out to me on X. I'm always available. And listen, I've gotten a lot of great responses where people, hey, I watch the show. They reach out to me about even the simplest things as how do I get seats for the football season? I'm going to be there for week 6. Like, how do I go about that? Just little things like that, guys. Don't feel like you can't reach out. Still reach out. I'm more than happy to respond and help anyone out that I can because, it's part of my job.
Excellent
He's
stuff.
genuinely a good man. Arthur DiCesare. Lawrence, that's going to wrap it.
Generally or genuinely?
Both generally and genuinely. That
so
being
when
said,
he's not
I genuinely don't
a
want to
good
see
man,
you anymore today.
is he a bad
So that's
man?
going to wrap it. That'll wrap it for the Tuesday
That's
edition.
such a
We'll do it again tomorrow.
backhanded
Same
compliment.
time, same channel. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games, get that season win report, and best of luck with all your bets. Cheers.